What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and we have to talk about ticker symbol BBIG Vinco Ventures because this stock's blowing up. Even today, we're up about 2.68%. Now, this is great news for the stock, and there's actually some very compelling new data that I just got access to, and thus that you now have access to, that is actually very bullish for BBIG. And it turns out that some of the data that we've been getting has actually been outdated. It's been potentially manipulated, and we're going to take a look at that and what's going on with BBIG now. So, first of all, I will give you guys a little bit of an analysis on BBIG. You can see that as of today, we are up, and we just hit a resistance level at 1160. You can see that we formed this resistance level, just a couple of days ago, and we tried to break through 1160 earlier, and broke through for a brief moment before falling back and struggling to break it the rest of the day and fading away after that. Now, today we've actually done somewhat of a similar thing, right? We ended up breaking past it just very temporarily, hit 1170, and then faded away, and that's where we're at now. We're actually hitting a support level that we have at $11. You can see right here. We tried breaking through it earlier, and this red bar closed below, and then the next bar closed above, so it is acting as a decent support, right? We haven't really broken it for too long, and hopefully we won't. Hopefully we'll stay above 11 for the rest of the day and keep moving up. But what we have to look at today is the short interest on BBIG, because that data, if you look at MarketWatch, is actually not accurate. Okay, you guys have pointed this out. Some people who are very savvy have pointed this out to me in the comments that MarketWatch is not accurate data. This is a not necessarily a manipulated statistic, but I'm sure that the institutions don't want you to see what the real short or percent of float shorted is, because this is actually much lower than what it actually is. And I actually just purchased Ortex data, which, if you guys don't know, it's a program or a software, a website where you can see real data. It costs about $80 a month, so you're welcome. I bought that for us, so now we have access to real short data, and it actually goes a lot more in depth than what MarketWatch does, right? So it actually shows you that as of today, we are up 3.99% on the short interest, right? Just today alone, and the total short interest of the free float right here is 33.79%. So that is much higher than the 19.78% that they show you on MarketWatch. So this actually shows, real data, live data that, is updating on a daily basis, right? As of today, we're up about 3.99%. That means that institutions are shorting this thing, trying to push it down, and, are partially succeeding, right? We are, at least as of right now, breaking through the $11 support level. We'll see if that sustains itself. I hope not. However, what's very important to note about this is that this changes some of the suspicions that we have about BBIG and the potential for a short squeeze, right? Because instead of on MarketWatch, where you saw there were about 11 million shorted shares, you actually have about 20 million shorted shares in reality as of the most recent data that we have. So if you multiply that by the stock price of $11, that's about $220 million that are shorted. Now, obviously, institutions have billions of dollars, and they probably won't have to cover their positions anytime soon if they're some of the bigger institutions, especially if they've been shorting it when it was, $10 or $11. However, a lot of institutions were potentially shorting this thing because Vinco Ventures wasn't that promising of a company before the squeeze. They may have been shorting at $2 or $3. And if that's the case, then they're down 3 or 4x on their money. So that could potentially be causing some of them to squeeze if we really start pumping up a bit. If they're down like 6 or 7x on their money, then they might get margin called, right? Some of the smaller institutions who were just taking Vinco Ventures BBIG as a short position, trying to buy in or rather sell into a kind of failing company that wasn't too promising. And I know a lot of people would disagree with that. Obviously it had some investors, but as you can see, we were on a bit of a downtrend. So some people were obviously shorting this thing, hoping that it would, pump down to 0 or maybe just $1. And those people are the ones who are really suffering most likely, right? Those institutions who were shorting around 2 or 3, and even over here around like 5, 6, 7, they're starting to feel some pain as we're hitting these higher, these prices that are in the tens, $11, $12, which we hit just a couple of days ago, $12.50. Which I will point out is most likely going to act as the next support. If we start moving up, I do expect that 1250 will act as the next, rather, resistance, actually. And this is because institutions like using psychological levels to short stocks at, right? That's the point at which I suspect institutions will most likely start shorting again and put up even more shares, for sale, because they want to push this thing down at psychological levels when they know that traders are looking at this thing. And if traders can recognize a pattern where this thing bounces off of 1249 twice and moves down, then some other traders may actually begin to short this thing. And some traders who are in it for the long haul, right, who are actually long this stock, may end up paper handsing and selling their positions at 1250 if they see this thing bounces off of it again. So that's my suspicion. And, I wouldn't necessarily let that scare you off, right? Because I do expect that we'll see a bounce. Now, it's going to be just a matter of how much of a conviction people have about this stock, whether or not we let that bounce take us down or if we continue up through it. That's my expectation, at least. I think that we definitely have the potential to be moving up, especially seeing the current short interest at 33.79%. And that actually isn't all that we have going for us. That's actually one of the lesser compelling things you can see right here on the open interest options activity. You have a lot of new options that have recently became in the money. About 32,000 for $10 call options, right? And 26,000 at $11. Now, if we can hold above $11 for a significant period of time, specifically until September 17th, then that could create some real buying pressure for this stock, because institutions will have to hedge against their position, where they have likely sold these options contracts to retail traders, and they'll have to be buying up shares of BBIG to cover this position. Now, I think that if we can get this thing moving up even more, you can see that at $20, we have 44,000 of these. At 15, we have 15,000 of these. And at 12, we have 10,000. So if we can get this thing moving, then there will be a lot of buying pressure from a gamma squeeze that could potentially be going on, and renewed support for the short squeeze. Actually, now that this new data is in, I think that it's a lot more likely. Actually, it's almost double what we were thinking before, right? We thought there were 11 million shares shorted. Now we know there are 20 million shares shorted. And that means that, in my opinion, a short squeeze is actually twice as likely, or at the very least going to happen twice as soon, because at a certain point, when those institutions that are shorting have a certain amount of margin out on their accounts, and those short positions have gotten to a certain point, they're going to have to cover those because of a margin call. So I think that, it's going to happen probably twice as soon as we were expecting before, because the short interest is double, right? The current shorted shares are double at least. So that's what I have for you guys today. If you have enjoyed this video, then I only ask that you subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you very much. You have a great day. Bye.